All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Got the AT&T Pebble Beach course preview video here for you guys. Do want to apologize for getting it out to you guys on Monday. Two things. One, this weekend I was up in northern Minnesota in the -degree weathers on a ski trip. Super fun, lots of fun. But also the Super Bowl was on Sunday, so I just figured why not just get this out to you guys on Monday morning. So we got the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Technically, it's just going to be the AT&T Pebble Beach this year because there's going to be no Pro-Am. Kind of going over the course, it is a little bit interesting. It is going to set up a little bit differently than it did play for the US Open, which is where I'm drawing in the course data stats from. So lengthwise, it's actually going to play a little bit shorter than what you guys see on this slide. It's going to be around 7,551 yards, and that's going to be for Pebble Beach golf links. And then Spyglass golf course is going to be 7,041 yards. And they're going to play as a par 72 instead of that par 71 that we saw at the US Open. So that's just something, noteworthy there for you guys. Still relatively going to play the same. We kind of know how this golf course plays. Just looking over the course style, it is a link style course. Grass type is ryegrass. Average winning score, kind of surprising, is 18.5. And I do think that this course is going to play a little bit more difficult. We saw the last time that there was a tournament where they typically have a course rotation with Pro-Ams, or in a Pro-Am event with amateurs playing, that they can actually make it play a lot harder. So that's something that I kind of expect, different pin placements that they can do to make the scores a little bit harder. So I could actually see the average win score being right around, 16 under par, and then the average cut line being right around even par this week if they choose to make it a little bit harder. The past four winners, Nick Taylor, our boy last year, got it done for us. That was pretty sweet. That was one of our bigger wins on the season last year was Nick Taylor. Then we got Phil, Ted Potter Jr., and Jordan Spieth. So really, you can tell really any golfer can go on and win this golf course. It's really, you got to be playing a good golf game going into this tournament. So just kind of looking at the updates for this year, there's going to be no Pro-Am event. It's only going to be played on two courses. It's not going to be played on Monterey Peninsula this year. It's going to be Pebble Beach and Spyglass. Once again, those courses are going to relatively play about the same. And the cut's going to be after the first two rounds rather than the third round when they would have a 3-course rotation. And then, like I said, I think that this course is going to play, or this tournament is going to play a lot harder than we typically see it play. But we'll get into the stat breakdown here in a second, but we'll do the quick recap of that previous week. All right, guys, so last week, wow. Okay, let's just break it down. Going into, what was it, like the 15th hole, I was in second place in the GPP contest. If Brooks Koepka does not hole out for eagle, I probably win. Maybe not win, but I'm definitely locked into a top 5 finish. The fact that Brooks Koepka won was horrible. I was the top finish lineup without Brooks Koepka last week. And I know I went on the live stream on, Wednesday, saying, Brooks Koepka, horrible DFS play, but if you want to bet him outright, that makes sense. His odds are great for an outright, but he just wasn't a good PGA DFS play, stat-wise. He was in horrible recent form, just wasn't a good stat fit, and that kind of has been the theme of 2021. I mean, you got these, good golfers career-wise that not a good recent form, not a good stat fit because of that poor recent form, that just have these random weeks. We've seen it now throughout the whole year. It's kind of the theme of 2021. So maybe we go out and we chase Daniel Berger because he's going to be coming off of a miscut into a course that will be good for him. I don't know. It's just kind of a weird theme that we haven't seen this year for PGA DFS, but we'll look it over. So I just kind of sorted by the top 30 players in the model rank. Now, these guys are not going to be all the players that were in my player pool. James Hahn was one of my favorite value plays. He obviously had a great finish, and he was in that top finishing lineup, as well as Xander Schauffele, who finished second. That was nice. Carlos Ortiz was the top rated player in the low tier for me last week. He was the one that I ended up on the most. But I was also on John Hutt and Chris Kirk, which, as we see, that wasn't the wrong play. It just didn't work out. That's kind of how PGA DFS has went, is that DraftKings has kind of been forcing us into top plays like Daniel Berger, John Hutt, and Chris Kirk. And that Friday round that they had sucked. If they just play decent on that Friday round with those three, I have probably my best week ever. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that's kind of been the theme of the 2021 season thus far. It's that, you just aren't getting rewarded as much as you should. It's just kind of how it's going. But that is something that, we're learning from. If it's going to be a higher variance year, like it definitely has been thus far, if you're entering a lot of GPPs, factor in that variance, which is what I did last week, which is why I had a pretty decent week GPP wise. Just looking over, I actually wasn't on Charlie Hoffman last week. Doc Redman I wasn't on. Harris English, I played around with him a little bit, and then Martin Laird. So we're really just looking at 4 missed cuts on the top end out of the top 30 plays. And then obviously we did really well. John Rahm, Roy, Justin Thomas, they kind of did what we thought he'd do. Corey Connors played well. He was one of my favorite plays. He was a high exposure play last week. Cameron Tringale, I liked him, as well as James Hahn and Stuart Sink. I kind of saw those three as, very similar plays. Those guys were all really strong stat ranks, so it wasn't surprising that they went out and played well. Sam Burns and Grillo were great stat ranks as well. Russell Henley, another great stat rank play. Kyle Stanley was a value play I ended up on. My boy Steve Stricker, by the way, I don't know if you guys caught that last week. I was on him a little bit. My thing was that if he made the cut on a longer track last week, then he should be able to go out and make the cut in this event. Obviously, he played lights out. That was super fun to see. Patton Kazire with a little bit of a Sunday letdown. If he would have had a better Sunday, I would have had a little bit better lineups as well. But overall, solid week. Matt Jones was the top-ranked value play for me last week, and he ended up making the cut. So overall, could have been a better week. It's kind of unfortunate if, one of these guys, if John Huck, Chris Kirk, or Daniel Berger make the cut, if one of those guys make the cut, it's a fantastic week. So let's get into the course preview for this week. It's going to be an interesting one. This one can typically play a little bit more tough, which kind of makes it easier in PGA DFS, and we'll get into that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull up AT&T Pebble Beach on the 9 to 5 course data sheet. Once again, $10 a month for this data if you guys want it. It's all included in one membership for $10 a month. Best value in PGA DFS. Really no reason that you guys shouldn't be doing that just yet. Sometimes it does take around 30 seconds to load or so, especially when you're doing recording a video. But yeah, we'll look at it. So course wise, it has been interesting. So the weather can play a factor here. Okay. We've had good weather. We've had mixed weather. Mixed weather is windy and rainy. Bad weather is just, 20 plus mile per hour winds, and worse is 30 plus mile per hour winds. So course conditions have, definitely been a factor at this course. And I, probably will be again, just with the winds coming off the ocean there. Most likely that's going to happen again. So we can kind of see it just based off the chart there, average cut line of -2. I think it's going to play a little bit harder. Then we scroll down. So when it, of course, plays a little bit harder, I always look to look at bogey avoidance as kind of a stat in terms of a player going out and making the cut. I think we're going to see that once again this year. Bogey avoidance will be a key stat in terms of making the cut. So any other key stats popping out in terms of making the cut, maybe 175 to 150. I don't know. We'll have to dive down into that a little bit more. We see that good drive percentage is a little bit more of a key factor than total driving or ball striking or driving distance or driving accuracy maybe. So, nothing really standing out too much. Par 5 scoring over par 4 scoring as well. So let's move it down into top 25, and then we'll do top 10. All right, so we see that ball striking is going to be more of a key advantage over total driving. One thing to point out is that strokes gained tee to green, not as huge of a factor this week. We're looking at strokes gained approach as kind of going to be the most key strokes gained stat this week. Par 4 scoring, that makes sense that once we start to lower the place, that would start to pop out. But we are starting to see that 175 to 150 yardage range really come out. And now we're starting to see birdie to bogey ratio kind of separate itself. So that makes sense. Let's scroll down to top 10 here. So yeah, birdie to bogey ratio for top 10 finishes. So we'll be looking at that as our scoring stat this week. That yardage range of 175 to 150 is still holding up. That's a little bit shocking to me. So if you're trying to find, a yardage length to go off of, just to factor in, that'd be the one I would go with. Par 5 scoring I will be looking at. So yeah, we do see good drive percentage, kind of a significant stat off the tee. I will be looking at that. Strokes gained approach I will be looking at as well. Interesting there. So I do want to look at the year that it played tough. What was that, 2017 here? Okay, so the cut line was at 0, even par there. So I kind of want to see that just in terms of how that played in general, because I do think that this tournament could play a little bit harder as well. Okay, so no big differences except for ball striking became a more key stat. That makes sense. Tougher weather, you needed to be a good ball striker then. Stroke gain approach still held up. Driving distance then did become a bigger factor as well, rather than driving accuracy, because it makes sense. You know, if it's a little bit windy, the longer drivers are going to benefit a little bit more. But I do like to look at good drive percentage as well. Still going to be a key stat that we're going to look at, and then par 5 scoring as well. And then let's just see it in terms of making the cut that year. Whatever, we'll do 55. So actually, let's just boom. So yeah, bogey avoidance then came in to play a little bit more. Par 5 scoring still over par 4. Good drive percentage still. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to me in general. Maybe just look at 2018. That was kind of a bad weather week as well. Plus 20 mile per hour winds that week. Kind of same thing that we're seeing. Let's see top 10. Let's see if driving distance holds up this year as well. Yep, so driving distance over driving accuracy. Some good drive percentage still holds up there. Not as much for ball striking. That's a little bit surprising to me. Still stroke gain approach, still bogey avoidance I like. Birdie to bogey ratio, that makes sense. 175 to 150. So I think we kind of get the picture here, guys. So kind of what we're going to be looking at is going to be ball striking for me. I really want to just get a guy that's hitting the ball well. I mean, that's what this tournament really comes down to. If you got a guy that's going to be hitting the ball well, they're going to play well. So total driving, ball striking are going to be two of the key stats that I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at bogey avoidance again. Once again, tougher track. I just like to look at that in terms of a player's likelihood to make the cut. Then birdies to bogey ratio as well. If I choose to use a yardage length, they'd be 175 to 150, but I will be looking at par 5 scoring. And then probably good drive percentage as well. Maybe factor in strokes gain approach a little bit on the secondary end of it, but for me, I just want a player that's hitting the ball well. If they're hitting the ball well this week, strokes gain total, strokes gain differential, we could probably look at that as well. But if a guy's going to be hitting the ball well, they're going to have a good week this week in PGA DFS. So we'll kind of pull it up real quick to see if there's any players on the key stats page that we could find as, you know, those players that we would go out and choose. And I am making this video Monday morning. They do not have the updated stats just yet for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, so this is going to be from the previous week stat-wise as well. We'll just pull it up, though. Total driving, I'm going to do top 100 in that. I'll do top 100 in ball striking as well. Then we can pull up strokes gain total as well on this sheet. Just kind of comparison reasons. I want to do top 20. Then we honestly probably have a decent mind of who to go after. Good drives gained. Let's do that. Good drive percentage, same thing. Let's do top 70. And then greens gained as well. I do want to look at that. Because, guys, this course is going to be all about opportunities, okay? You factor in good drives gained and greens gained, that's opportunities gained. So let's just see here. So if Sam Burns is here, he might be another good GPP play. My boy Justin Suh could be another GPP flyer. Ryan Almer, surprisingly, that's shocking to me. But once again, this is going back from one tournament previous, so this could change a little bit. But Victor Hovland, Dustin Johnson going to be a great play. I know Dustin Johnson is for sure in the field. Peter Malnati would be a decent GPP flyer if he's in the field. That's kind of interesting to me as a whole. And then, you know, let's just look at par 5 scoring as well. Gonna kind of want to adjust that, but we can't. So yeah, just factor in a little bit more. It would be Justin Suh, it'd be Sam Burns, Cameron Champ maybe if he can finally make a putt. We'll see. Victor Hovland and Dustin Johnson. So I know for sure Dustin Johnson in the field. Obviously the field will be finalized here this afternoon, and then I'll get up that first look lineup process video out to you guys that I typically would on Monday. So that's all I have for this video. Kind of interesting looking it over, and you know, those good drives gain percentage stats and the greens gain percentage stats that I have there, that is going to be something that I do have added into the 9 to 5 PGA DFS membership probably in the next month or so. This week I'm going to try to add in the strokes gained stats for this year's tournaments. So we'd be looking at strokes gain total, strokes gain approach, strokes gain off the tee, strokes gain tee to green, strokes gain around the green, and strokes gain putting. We can kind of see if a player is getting better or worse throughout the events. Now, that's going to be something when I do add it where it's not going to be the end all be all. It'll just be something that we can look at to see if a guy is trending upwards or downwards for our 50-50 decision makers. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. If you want to join 9 to 5 Nation, the link's in the description below. $10 a month, best value in PGA DFS. If not, just hit that like and subscribe button. All right, thanks guys, we're out. And as always, let's keep cashing.